Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. And how do you do? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. And God loves you. Woo-hoo. Good morning, y'all. Great day. Fantastic day. Why? Because our Creator said, rise. Go forth and enjoy and rejoice in this day. For that I am so glad that I was chosen, and you should be too. Therefore, we must, we demand, he doesn't, that we give him honor, praise, and glory. Welcome. This is Edwina B, y'all. That's right. The Cuckoo for Cocoa Pops lady. Listen, I love me because God first loved me. I love me. And I know you love me too. I know you do. Guess what? Even if you don't. Through the AA 12 spiritual programs, I love you. All right. So, for the month of March, is my mother's birthday, and she celebrates the entire month of March when she was here on earth. And I'm dedicating my anniversary to my mother. I celebrated 32 years last month on February the 23rd, and my mama's birthday is March the 23rd. So I'm keeping this thing rolling, right? I had a praying mother, and I believe I still do. I know I do. How about that? All right. So, because I come on a little early is because I can give you parts of my journey that have been evolving and still evolving from 32 years ago up until right now. And I also, on Sundays, tend to come on a little later so I can start a little later in the morning because my AA meeting is not until 9 o'clock on Sundays, and then I go to church. Yes, Canaan Baptist Church with my pastor, Dr. Christopher Allen Bullock, and my first lady, Dr. Bullock, Dr. Debbie Bullock. Yes, but I give my AA all of my attention because it's through the grace of God that I was led to Alcoholics Anonymous 32 years ago. So this first part, I dedicate my testimonial song to me, to my mother, what I'm going through to help ignite that power in me and just to give thanks to my God and to give you hope as well. So we're going to first hear my testimonial song. I have my grandchildren's necklace here with me, right? I have 8 of them. I believe I got 9, but I don't know. You know. And so what I'm going to also do is dedicate my mother, who was a grandmother, their Nana, to my grandchildren and her great-grands and great-great-grands. So my homage go to Ruby Lamar, Grandmom Carrie, and all the grandmoms in the world, including me. All right. So enjoy Grandmom's Hands by Bill Withers. Listen. Lord, I love you. It's always a story, right? Okay.
I'm one of those very lucky people who was born in a very small place where everybody knew everybody. One person that everybody knew as Grandma happened to be my real grandmother. And I held that high position of being Grandma's number 1 person in the whole world. I could do anything. Grandma would say, "Don't y'all hit that baby. That's Grandma's baby." Grandma had a way of sneaking up behind you when you weren't looking and laying an old piece of candy on you that had been laying around her room for about 6 or 8 months or so. And Grandma had a more useful side. At that time, contraceptives weren't too well known in that area. And a lot of times young girls would be expecting children without the benefit of having husbands. And they would always come to Grandma and sit on the floor at Grandma's feet. And Grandma would rub their heads and say, "I'm going to pray for you, baby." I guess Grandma's prayers went where mine and yours and everybody else's go. But but it seemed like Grandma could just pray a disease right out your body. I really, really dug my grandmother. Grandma's hand clapped in church on Sunday morning. Grandma's hands played a tambourine so well. Grandma's hand used to issue out a warning. She'd say, Billy, don't you run so fast. Might fall on a piece of glass. Might be snakes there in that grass. Grandma's hand. Eyes in Grandma's hands soothed the local unwed mother. Grandma's hands used to ache sometimes and swell. Oh, Grandma's hand used to lift her face and tell her, she'd say, baby, Grandma understands that you really love that man. Put yourself in Jesus' hands. Grandma's hands. Eyes in Grandma's hands used to hand me a piece of candy. Grandma's hands picked me up each time I fell. Oh, Grandma's hands, boy, they really came in handy. She'd say, Matty, don't you whip that boy. What you wanna spank him for? He didn't drop no apple core, but I don't have Grandma anymore. If I get to heaven, I'll look for Grandma's hands.
Woo! Ha ha! How many of y'all can relate to Grandma's hand? Huh? How many can y'all relate to Grandma's hands? You know, I just thank God that my mother, Helen Lamar Jones Hall Taylor, even though Ruby Lamar was not her biological mother, but she became the only mother my mother knew, as well as Grandma Carrie. She became the only grandmother that my mother knew. Why? Because of secrets. Listen, down in the South, all over the world, there's a lot of secrets. But nevertheless, my granny and my great-grandma, Carrie, loved my mother in their own special way. And my mother eventually got to meet her mother and her grandmother. And when she met her mother, it wasn't a beautiful experience. And for whatever reason, I think her mother's name was Beatrice, who was my real biological grandmother, was going through whatever issues she was going through. And one day, my mother and my older sister, Ruby, went to visit my mother's mother. And it was very disappointing. But my mother said, you never have to worry about me coming back. Could you imagine? Could you imagine what that feeling was like? I know Granny loved my mother, but instinctively, there's something about my mommy and my daddy. And that's why these 12 spiritual principles help us in our inventory to unravel those hurts and those resentments and that anger, right? To find out why, not just why, but what happened for you not to want me. And so my grandmom great grandma Carrie and my granny, Ruby Lamar. Yes. And now, when my mother became a grandmother, listen, when my mother became a mother, she was like, I ain't giving away none of my children. I am not giving away none of my children. If we got to stay in one room on one bed and one on one toilet, I am not giving any of my children away. And my mother kept her promise. But Ruby Lamar helped her so many times, so many times. When we had to run away from my father, when my mother had to run, catch cabs and sometimes catch the bus to get away from my dad's abuse, she would always take her children with her. And Granny always opened up the door. So listen, when my mother became a grandmother and cutie cute Quentin Lionel Hall was the first grand of my mother, and my God, listen, it was a different world when grandchildren come along. Y'all should know that by now, right? And as a result of that, here comes some more, but grandmom's hands, grandmom's hands. And now that I have grandchildren, oh, whoa, listen, what I couldn't do for my children because of my addiction, I do for my grandchildren. They know I will give them anything in the world. Yes, love them, show them, embrace them, but I will tap that behind. Yeah, no. Grandmom's hands, okay? So yesterday I gave you a little bit more about my mother, pregnancy, and how Granny and grandma, great grandma Carrie went to the Hall family, and it was decided that they needed to get married. My dad and my mother, right, at the age of 14, and he was 16. And because his dad, Edward Hall, again, which is not his biological father, he too, my dad was given away as well, And but anyway, that's another story. So they gave my dad a choice to either go to work or go into the army so he can support his wife and his coming baby, right? And they falsified his records because you needed to be 18 at the time, and he was able to get in the army at 16. And so as a result of that, my grandmother, Granny, made up this picture. Where's that picture at? I showed y'all yesterday, right? My mother didn't have no wedding, right? No, she didn't. But they made her dress up like she was and hid that belly with that bouquet, right? So that they can show that their daughter was a proper, right. But anyway, so off to the army he went, and my grandmom, Granny, took care of my mother and the baby Ruby Amira Hall. And I will share more of that with you tomorrow as my mother begins the journey of being a teenage mother. Okay? So for right now, I want to share with you one of my readings because many of you know I wrote a journal and kept it the first 4 years in recovery, 32 years ago, off and on for 4 years. And I actually have the actual journey in there as an appendix because people lie when they write, right? But I just wanted to emphasize how important it is to keep a journal because it becomes your reference point and it becomes your measuring tool as well. So every day I've been sharing a entry for you. Now, yesterday I shared about the Mother's Day, right? And so today this entry is called, and this is the picture of my husband, my first husband and the children's father when we was up in Williamsport, right? Here you go, here you go, here you go, right? That's Doc. I wound up taking care of him too, right? But that's my family. My son, Dr. Dwight Kenneth Dockery II, and my daughter, CEO Kenesha Edwina Treasure Dockery, right? So this is the entry after the Mother's Day event that I shared yesterday when they came up to visit me, and We did the whole church thing, went skating, got something to eat. And then while the kids were busy, me and the dad went somewhere else and took care of some other business. Uh, I tell you, to thy own self be true, right? And because we was late getting back, oh my God, I can only imagine what they were thinking. So here is the day after that event. And I wrote this May the 15th of 1990. Woke up this morning from a dream in which someone in my family was selling drugs at the house we lived in as children, 2642. It appeared that the neighbor knew about it, but my family members were in denial. I knew it existed because I pretended to be a customer and found out that my nephew was selling cats, had a bundle, hid them under the couch, and saw and heard my family saying how the neighbors were talking. This is all I can remember now. Got up and prayed and meditated and read my literature as usual, feeling rather restless, for I go for an operation in 2 days. Entertaining thoughts of self-willing on a sexual tip, attempting very hard not to feed into it. I had feelings of concern for someone special, Renee, who is not feeling well at all. I prayed for her and asked God to have her call me if she needs me. Please, God, please make her days as painless as possible, but fill her heart and soul with acceptance and endurance, uplift her spirits, and bring forth moments of laughter. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I finally came to realize, after talking with my counselor, the need to regain my independence from my husband. I felt strange at first by saying that because he is helping me financially. If I were to regain my financial status, how and what could he offer me? For all I ever wanted from any man was love and affection and the freedom to express it, as well as receive it. I feel I am gaining more and more insight each day. And I feel I am really keeping my focus on my recovery and working this program. Overall, I feel I'm just starting a new way of life. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And the young lady that I referred to, Renee, I shared on my journal entry a couple days ago how she was diagnosed with another fatal disease. And out of all the people in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, she called me and I was honored. I was honored. I was honored to be there for her. So, I reflect back now and see how God put people in our path to give us inspiration and hope. So no matter what I was going through and what I was facing, I looked to Renee and I was like, wow, I can do this. And she too gave me the idea of faith. Okay, so that's enough of that part. Now I want to finish sharing inventory number 4 on my world tour, Free to Hope, from Recovery, Emerge, Empowered, that started in February of 2020 during my 30-year anniversary, but got stifled because of COVID-19. But listen, my God said, no, 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 no. You don't need to be in person. You need to just hit that thing and say action. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I've been doing it ever since. Okay, so this is my second presentation done at the Dover Library, and I'm going to share with you every day this particular presentation on how every human being can benefit from the 12 spiritual principles. Okay, so let's go. All right. Okay. I'll be here. But getting into that recovery process helped me to say, Edwina, you only know what you know when you know it. What was your mindset? What was your motive? What was, what was going on for you to make that decision? I told you we make decisions all day long. all day long. But guess who has to live with that decision? Other people may have consequences or ripple effect, but you the one got to live with that decision. But how many of us, when I'm grown, I can do what I want to do. Yeah. How many people said that? Come on, at one time in your life. Yeah. You know, I know what's best for me. Based on those decisions, that decision got me underneath that parked car at the age of 34. So how good were my decisions? How grown up was I really? Huh? Okay. So you get my drift, right? Yeah. So the inventory, you want to be able, you see this necklace? It's got an earring. And you want to take that defect, I don't care what it is, it may be resentment, and scan out on paper. You see this necklace? It's got an earring. And you want to take that defect, I don't care what it is, it may be resentment, and you want to examine it. Who was it? Where was it? What happened? And then after you do that, oh, it's in a circle. Where did the circle come from? You know what I mean? You're deciphering it because you need to be prepared when you see this earring again. If you don't examine it, this earring is going to pop up and it's going to catch you again. Being prepared for things yet to come. Okay? All right, let's keep moving. What time is it?
4:45.
Okay. So, this is an example. Anybody got to go to the bathroom? Anybody need a break? You go to the bathroom. We're going to keep talking. Good. So, listen, y'all. Recovery principle 4 says this will be the first tangible thing that you're going to be actually writing with the recovery principles. The other 3 were concepts, ideas. I can't. A power greater than me can. I'm going to make a decision to turn my will and my life over. Those are concepts, ideas, acceptance. But when we talk about actually putting pen to paper, when we actually talk about let's get this trash can out on paper, So, I'm going to give you an example. So, I was resentful. I had resentment. I had resentments against my mother. That inventory, well, what was the cause? She got my daddy's attention. How did it affect me? It affected my self-esteem. I didn't know at 5 years old I wasn't supposed to look like a 25-year-old. So when daddy said, get in your place, oh, I'm not good enough. Something's wrong with me. Daddy don't want me. It affected my self-esteem at 5 years old. So what am I going to think about other men? And how they going to treat me? Huh? What part did I play in it? I became jealous of my mom. I didn't like my mother growing up. I loved her, but I didn't like my mother. Why didn't I like my mother? Because she was getting daddy's attention. And that was my daddy. How many of you have daddy little girls? Yeah, that's my daddy. I was resentful against my siblings. Why? Because they got what? Dad's attention too. Huh? What did it affect? My security. Daddy is not going to be enough for me because he got to give it to everybody else. I don't like my siblings because they're getting daddy's attention. No. So I'm going to start lying on them. I'm going to start telling on them. I'm going to start making them look bad. Huh? But what part did I play in it? I became manipulative. Yeah. See, to thy own self be true. Tell yourself the truth. You know I know, you know I know, you know I know, you know I know. You know what I mean? Yeah. Resentment against my dad. Although I loved the ground my dad walked on, I had a love-hate relationship with him because he was abusive. Right? What did it affect? My security, my self-esteem, Oh, I just shared this with my assistant today. I had the most horrible dream last night, or maybe this morning. As children, you want to protect your parent who's being abused, right? But you're little and daddy's bigger or the man is bigger. And even though it's 6 of y'all, if we all took a leg and an arm, maybe we could protect mom. But when that person is still so much fear in you, you won't move. And we had to be subject to watching her get abused. So both my parents are deceased. But guess what? That feeling in me through my inventory, I felt guilty because I couldn't protect my mom. Should I have felt guilty? I don't know. The reality is I did feel guilty. You can't tell me what I should or shouldn't have been. I feel guilty. You can't tell me how to feel. I feel guilty. That's what this inventory does for us. Be honest. And last night, through all these years, I had a dream that my dad was trying to hurt my mom. And he did something that probably would have killed her. But I took it out of his hand and I killed him. I said, you're not going to hurt her no more. I'll be 65 in December. This stuff happened when I was a child. So look, years later, after the recovery, and even not in my conscious world, but in my subconscious, I wanted revenge. I wanted to get him. But what I was doing was protecting my mom, even if I had to kill you. Yes. That's how deep these inventories go. That's how you got to clean this garbage can out. Okay? So you get the drift of the inventory, right? Okay. So always put in what the feeling is, whether it be resentfulness, jealousy, envy, you want to be whatever it is that's causing you to have bondage. State what the cause is, who it is against, what the situation was, how did it affect you, and more importantly, what part did you play in it? One guy said, I was raped as a child. What could I have possibly done to make that happen? And the guy said, nothing. Just the mere fact that you were there. That's the only part you played in it. You have nothing to feel guilty about. You just happened to be there. It's just that simple. Don't make it all complicated, because I didn't do anything, but I was just there. So now that I can have comfort in knowing that I didn't do anything, I was just there, I can move on. Okay. So, all right. Recovery principle number 5. I'm going to try to get through this a little more quicker. But I will share this with you all. It says, admitted to God, whoever, it was years before I had acknowledged a God. It just was. Because the years of me being told I'm going to stop right there. Okay. And we are going to pick up where I left off at. All right. And so now we can get into the topic for today. All right. So if you ever need to contact me for a speaker or trainer at your church organization, just contact me, email me, and guess what? It won't cost you a dime. No, it won't. Maybe a love offering, but it won't cost you a dime, because freely we receive, freely we give. From recovery, emerge empowered. Okay, so now let's get to why we are here. Now, you know that Alcoholics Anonymous has been here for over close to 90 years, one day at a time, and it has helped millions of alcoholics obtain sobriety, and has prepared others like me to help another alcoholic achieve sobriety. I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous, but I've been a proud, grateful, and humble member for 32 plus years now. To God be the glory. All right. And so as a result of me going to my meetings every day, one way, shape, form, or fashion, has helped me to embrace the 12 spiritual principles, to create a spiritual experience that will generate a spiritual awakening, right? That will cause a spiritual transformation, obtain some spiritual wisdom in order to achieve that psychic change. Once we put down the drink, it's all about our thinking. And that's why with step one, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol or whatever it is you are, that whatever that was caused our lives to be unmanageable, right? And then the second step came to believe that a power or powers greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, only meaning soundness of mind. Once we see that's working, we make a decision to turn our will and our power over to the care of God as we understand him, right? 4, taking that inventory that I just talked about. And tomorrow I will resume my presentation and talk about step number 5. Okay. So if you don't hear anything else, hear this. Donald Lawrence has this song called Spiritual. And because this is a spiritual, not religious program, he says you are not a natural being having a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being living and walking this natural experience on earth called life. So now I understand how to practice wearing the world like a loose garment. When we apply these spiritual principles to all these earthly matters, woo, peace, tranquility, acceptance, courage to do what I can, let go and let God, prayer, right? The serenity prayer. Oh my gosh. I'm in love, y'all. Can't you tell? I'm in love. I'm in love with recovery. I'm in love with my God. All right, so let's see what the reading for today is, the idea of faith. All right, let's read it together, and then we're going to decipher this thing, right? All right, so let's go. Let's put this on, and we're going to read it together, right? All right, so let's go. March the 6th, AA Daily Reflections, the idea of faith. Do not let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. AA Big Book, page 47. And the alcoholic in recovery writes, right? He says, the idea of faith is a very large chunk to swallow when fear, doubt, and anger abound in and around me. Sometimes just the idea of doing something different, something I am not accustomed to doing, can eventually become an act of faith, right? If I do it regularly and do it without debating whether it's the right thing to do. When a bad day comes along and everything is going wrong, a meeting or a talk with another drunk often distracts me just enough to persuade me that everything is not quite as impossible, as overwhelming as I had thought. In the same way, going to a meeting or talking to a fellow alcoholic are acts of faith. I believe I'm arresting my disease. These are ways I slowly move toward faith in a higher power. Did you get that? So y'all know, right? Y'all know I dissect the words, right? And so here we go. The idea. How many of you have had great ideas? Oh, I can do this. Oh, maybe I can do that. Oh, my granddaughter, She's 2 or 3, right? When she was 2 or 3, she said, "I got a great idea. I got a great idea." She wanted something, right? I got a great idea. I know. So you know what I mean? An idea. Huh? What do you have an idea about? We are always thinking, right? Sometimes we wish we could turn our mind off, but So you know what an idea means to you, right? Okay. So now we're talking about the idea of faith. I tell people every time I have the chance, like I'm telling you now, having faith is not new to us. No, it's not. Think about it. We just didn't know what it was, right? But having faith is not new to us, right? We believed we was going to wake up the next morning, right? We believed that my mom was going to cook our breakfast, right? We believed we was going to get a whooping if we did something bad, right? We believed that bartender was going to give us liquor and not water, right? We believed that drug dealer was going to give us crack and not drywall, right? We believed that the John was going to pay us, right? So yes, we do know what faith is. But the question is, faith in what? So let's decipher what Alcoholics Anonymous has to say about it. All right. So when we look at it, it says here, do not let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. Let's start there. What prejudice do you have against spiritual terms? Think about it. What prejudice do you have? I know mine. Now I know mine. I didn't know they were prejudices, right? But I know what my prejudice against spiritual terms was, right? I learned that in participating in my recovery and participating in these spiritual principles. But before I came to AA, they was elusive. They was like out there somewhere. I don't know, boogeyman. I don't know, spirits. I don't know. Casper, the friendly ghost. That was a spirit, So listen. Interesting, right? And so what is your concept? What is your concept of your prejudice against spiritual terms? So it says, do not let them deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. So there's going to come a time in one's life, one's journey, and going through all these earthly things that we have a yearning inside of us that says, what is it all about? What is it all about? I remember having it as a child, particularly with the abuse with my dad over my mom and us, right? The way men were cheating on women and wives was tricking with husbands and men. Yes, what is it all about? The fighting, the stealing, the lying. What confusion? What is it all about? As a child, we are confused, and that confusion leads to other things in our lives. It perpetuates in all areas of our lives. Confusion. And so we have this yearning. What is it all about? That's the beginning of spirituality, right? All right, so now it says, but don't let that deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. And when you go through your knee-bowing experience, because it says everyone is going to have a knee-bowing experience. Every human being. Oh, yes. Mine was underneath that parked car 32 years ago, right? And so whatever I thought about this, that, underneath that parked car, what? Whoever they say you are, take me out this life now or show me a better way. There starts the implementation of that yearning as a child about what's it all about. I don't know, but the student is ready and the teacher appeared, okay? So you have to have that same type of experience, okay? I got about 6 minutes, right? So now the person in recovery writes, the idea of faith is a very large chunk to swallow when fear, doubt, and anger abound in and around me. Huh? It's very hard to have faith when fear, anger, all that stuff is in and around you, right? And so when you talk about faith, oh, that's a what? When my dad would beat my mom, when he would beat my mom, I wanted him to stop. I wanted him to stop. I wanted him to stop. Right? I wanted him to stop. But he didn't. So it is a hard chunk to swallow. Then it says, sometimes just the idea of doing something different, something I am not accustomed to doing, can eventually become an act of faith if I do it regularly and do it without debating whether it's the right thing to do. Now, this applying it to my recovery is very, very important, because when I asked this God that I didn't know to take me out this life or show me a better way, right? And he put me on a pathway to recovery. Listen, I knew what was behind me. I did not want to go underneath that parked car. I didn't want to go back. I'm not going back. And so here is my physical, mental, spiritual, right, emotional journey of being put on this pathway to recovery, so I can find out what happened to me, because I thought something was wrong with me. Okay? And so that helps us to gain a perspective of doing something different. So every day I did what it was suggested that I do. And so I got up and I prayed. I got up and I meditated. I got up and, I wrote in my journal. I got up and went to meetings, and I did it on a regular basis. And as I saw that I was staying sober and getting information and I was growing, I said, wow, this is better than living a life of an alcoholic or a drug addict and even a prostitute. Listen, this is better. So this, if I do the same thing I did yesterday, then I have faith that I'm going to stay sober no matter what happens, right? And it says here, when a bad day comes along and everything is going wrong, a meeting or a talk with another drunk often distracts me just enough to persuade me that everything is not quite as impossible or as overwhelming as I had thought. Listen, I need more time, but I had to go to my meeting, right? But just to share with you one situation, I remember when my husband was dying, right? And we were in our townhouse in Newark, Delaware, Woodshades Apartments, right? And my mother was there with me because we knew he was dying. And during his process of transitioning, it was my first experience hearing that rattle sound when somebody is dying. And I'm like, oh my God, this is Paul, stop. Like, stop that rattling. Paul, come on. And I even put my hand over his mouth. Like, I can't take that noise, right? Stop. But I didn't understand, right? But the noise was getting to me. And so my mom heard me struggling, and she came downstairs and she said, Edwina, come here. She said, Edwina, Paul is dying. I said, but Mom, I can't take that noise. She said, well, if you can't take it, just I said, Mom, she said, I know. And so I went to the bathroom and I said, God, help me, because I can't take that sound. I can't. And I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. I asked him to help me, right? And I came out the bathroom and I got in the bed with Paul and I put his head in my arms. And I began to thank him for everything he had done for me, because he was a trick when I was a prostitute. And he said he saw a diamond in the rough and he wanted to marry me and he wanted to show me the best way of life and all of that. And I thanked him, and I thanked him for God using him to take me out of addiction into recovery, the part that he played in it. And they said that when a person is dying, the last thing that goes is their hearing. And so I was able to share with Paul, that baby, I'm going to be all right. And guess who else was there? His son, the one that I was tricking with and while I was underneath that parked car. So me and his son was at his bedside asking for forgiveness. Yes. Asking for forgiveness. And you could see the trickle of tears coming down his eyes. So yes. That's one example of how you can have a bad day, or you're going through something and you asking for prayer, and you talking to somebody, or somebody's in the room with you, your mom intervenes and whatnot, and it doesn't seem so bad after all. And that's what recovery does for people like us, okay? So let me close with this. It says here, in the same way, going to a meeting or talking to a fellow alcoholic are acts of faith. Yes. Going to a meeting. I've been going to a meeting every day for the last 32 years in one way, shape, form, or fashion. That's an act of faith. I'm going to stay sober at least that hour. I am going to hear something I need to hear within that hour. I'm going to be able to help somebody that's unknown to me right in that meeting. I have faith because for 32 plus years, it's been working. And for 90 plus years, it has been working for other alcoholics in recovery. It works. It works. But I have to work it. I have to participate. I have to put forth the effort. I have to put self-will aside and align my will with God's will, because it works. Woo! I know I'm cooking for Cocoa Pops. Wait a minute. I got a couple more minutes. Wait. All right. So then it says, I believe I'm arresting my disease, right? And so many of you should know, and if you don't, our disease, this physical disease on this earth, right, is fatal. It doesn't go anywhere. But when we apply spiritual principles to it, we only have a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Do you understand? And maybe you don't, because I didn't understand what the hell he was talking about, right? But now I do. I have a fatal disease. If I pick up today or tomorrow, I could possibly die because my disease is doing push-ups and is waiting for me to say, like a lot of us do. That's why we are the chosen ones. And it says in our fellowship, some of us must die in order for some of us to live. Okay? All right. So I know that I am an alcoholic in recovery because I'm still on this earthly journey, but I'm applying spiritual principles to any and everything on this thing called earth. And it's working. These are ways I slowly move toward faith in a higher power. I told y'all I'm doing my dissertation on how the 12 steps help people in recovery to identify their higher power, right? And then I'm going to culminate it with how this process helped me identify my higher power, right? And it's amazing how this recovery process, as we begin to, embrace, practice, evaluate, internalize, and all that's available, all spiritual in nature. Oh my God, what a beautiful, beautiful journey to have here on earth. My perspective is totally different. I want to enjoy every second, every minute, every day. Give us this day our daily bread to do what? Not just stay sober, but help another alcoholic achieve sobriety so that they too can get that psychic change they need to turn their world right side up. Applying spiritual principles on these earthly matters. Okay? So, I want you to, I gotta go. Wear your mask, social distancing, right? Have faith that if you wear that mask, if you social distance, if you get vaccinated, if you get the booster shot, that you are exercising faith to save your life and the lives of others. Would you? Okay, I got to go, y'all. If nobody told you they love you today, I love you. I love you. You love me. We are one big family with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me too? Call me if you need me. Call me if you need someone to talk to. Call me. Spiritual satisfaction guaranteed. How you like that? Uh-huh. Have a blessed day. I love you. And God does too.